Hi friends, it's Heidi M, and I can't believe we're in October. And I'm joined today by Liza Paul. Liza, it's so lovely to see you virtually.
So lovely to see you virtually too.
So Liza, you are somebody who works at the theater center. You are involved with arts and comedy as well, specifically. But I want you to have a chance to tell folks a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to segue into something really fun that's happening this month.
Okay, I love this intro. Thank you, Heidi. So you mentioned already, my name's Liza Paul. I'm the Associate Artistic Director at the Theater Center. I am also the lead curator of the Comedy is Art Festival. And I came to this place in my career by way of many years ago, working at Soul Pepper Theater Company, where I was an associate producer. Then I moved away from that, did some indie art making of my own. Then got interested in comedy because the indie art I was making was comedic in nature. So started taking some courses at Second City. Was also accepted into the Bob Curry Fellowship Program, where I met so many of the amazing artists who are doing comedy in the city right now. Then started working at the Theater Center, where I kind of had put together that in theater, it seems like there are endless resources, but in comedy, it seems like there is nothing. And that is because there kind of is nothing. There's no government funding for comedy.
Mhm.
And so we started giving the space, the cafe space, to artists who wanted to do shows. We didn't have money to pay them, but we had a nice room, an accessible building. So that was something. And then from there, we had a cancellation one day in the Franco Bani Theater. And my boss, Ashlyn Rose, was like, "You've been doing all this comedy. Do you want to do a festival upstairs?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that is how Comedy is Art was born.
That's amazing. And I don't think I knew this side of the story, but it's been 6 years now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the sixth edition. It's very tricky because I like to be exact.
That
And
is.
so it's actually started, the first festival happened, I think it was in 2019. But then because 2020 happened and there was no festival, funny that 2020 was a wild year because of
Oh,
all the things. So it's been 2019 and then 21, 22, 23, 24, and now 25.
and you know what? In 2020, we needed comedy. We could have
I
had,
know, I know, I know.
we always need comedy in our lives, I think, in general.
I think so too.
Doing the work for us. Um, so it's 3 nights this year. It's from October 23rd to the 25th. I want to make sure that folks know that. But maybe let's talk a little bit about the lineup of this year. You had a really cool group of folks sort of working with you in terms of the selection committee. So maybe let's start with that and then.
Yeah. So for the second year in a row, I was joined by Ellie Posadas, who is one of the Titas, the Tita Collective, and Tim Blair, who is one of the Tall Boys. And these two artists, I wanted to make sure that the process felt as open to as many people as possible, and like it wasn't just this kind of closed shop where I just sit at my desk and pick names out of the ether. So we did two things that started last year. One was which we opened up a submissions process where artists could submit either virtually, like electronically, just like a clip of something they'd done, or come in person and audition. And we did the same thing again this year. And that was really amazing because it really gave us a chance to see people we would not otherwise have seen. And it gave people from kind of more places in Canada, as opposed to just Toronto, the opportunity to be seen as well. And I would say that having Tim and Ellie, their perspectives are both very specific and very unique, and they we're kind of all in for the same things. Like we all understand the same assignment, which is that we're looking for artists who, first and foremost, will make us laugh. And very close on the heels of that is that we're looking for artists who are not afraid to speak truth to power, but who also understand that the art of it comes in the punching up and never punching down.
Excellent. That's so nice to hear. And I know both of their work, and I'm always fascinated about what they do individually and collectively in their comedic life too. So it's nice that they helped you along. So as I was saying, there's 3 nights. What can we look forward to in terms of a mix up of shows?
So the way that we curate the festival, I'm always looking for two things. One
Hmm.
is that I want the artists on stage to look as though we could have been in a streetcar or in a subway and we just took a bunch of the people and put them on a stage. Which is to say, I don't want homogeneous programming. I don't want it to be all one kind of person, not all one age, not all one height, ethnicity, orientation, like whatever that looks like. I want a diverse range of perspectives because I think that there's something really powerful about that approach to storytelling, which is how I view comedy, is that it is storytelling. And I think also it would be a shame to live in a city as multicultural as this one and not have that be represented on our stages.
Hmm.
So that's piece number one. And then piece number two, when the curatorial piece comes into play, I already told you about like you have to make us laugh and unique perspectives, original takes on maybe very common things, but you just have never thought of it that way. And then also a variety of programming. So there are stand-up comedians, there are musical improv artists, there are just straight up improv, and then there's also the full hour of sketch comedy that Nkasi Ogbonna is going to do for Afronaut. She's been working on this piece for a little while. She did some of it at Sketchfest and I think also some of it at Halifax Sketch Festival or Comedy Festival. Sorry, I'm not exactly sure what it's called. But she is so talented. And when I approached her, I was like, listen, I would love to invite you to expand on this and do a solid hour. And so that I'm very excited about too. But we have amazing comedians. Like they're all just so funny.
That's right. And I like that you're mentioning there's different types of comedy because comedy sometimes people misinterpret it as just being stand up, but there's so many ways that
Yeah.
you get at the laughs and as you said through storytelling. So you mentioned Afronaut. There's also something really interesting that I saw in the lineup this year, which is new, which is sort of that one day
The symposium.
on our stages. Can you speak to that a bit?
Yes, of course, forgive me because I'm so used to thinking only of the shows that I'm like, right, the symposium. So Alia, who I also met along with Tim actually at Second City when we were in the Bob Curry program together. She, as you know, works at Bad Dog, and she and I were talking about ways that perhaps the Comedy is Art could partner with Bad Dog for this year's edition of the festival. Because Bad Dog does so much in the community, and Alia and I are are similarly minded in terms of our ethics around comedy and comedy programming and the choices that people make with respect to comedy. And so we kind of spoke, and we unearthed this idea that, because at first I was like, oh, do you want to program like an improv show? And she was into it, but kind of also lukewarm on it. And then when we talked a little bit more, she was like, actually, we do this symposium, and I would love to have that be an offering as part of this year's festival. And I was like, that's amazing because last year I was trying to get into some like panel discussion world, but like that's really not my wheelhouse, and I didn't know what I was doing. So it felt like a very serendipitous moment where we kind of came together and we had the space to be able to offer her to do this symposium. And then, in addition to that, the Bad Dog also supplied the theater center with some funding to help present the musical improv show, which, as it happens, is one that appeared in Bad Dog's Blockbuster Week a little while ago.
Right. That's really cool. I'm one of those people that if there's a festival, I always look for panels because I'm kind of nerdy too, and I want to hear what you have. I may not be a comedian, but
It's interesting, right? Like, and that's kind of the idea. Like, you don't have to be a comedian to attend those panels any more than you need to be a comedian to attend the performances. Like, it's for learning, it's for insight, it's for community. Like, that's kind of what the entire thing is about, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, I'm excited to see the weekend unfold. And I'm looking at single tickets are available. I like this note that I'm seeing around financial accessibility discounts. I know people are going through some tough times on so many levels. And can we talk a little bit more about just being able to offer some accessibility on that front?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the theater center broadly is committed to accessibility for people. Like, we don't believe that a lack of financial resources should be a barrier to seeing art. And so that is one of the programs that we offer is that, like, you can call the box office, no questions asked, and we will extend these offers to patrons.
Hmm. And you also mentioned that the venue itself, just in terms of logistics, is also just generally be accessible for anyone who has mobility.
Absolutely.
So I
I
just want
feel
to
like you should work at the theater center. You're a very good representative for us. Yes, it
go
is.
there often. I love it.
You know, it was very important to me because, like I said, I started my career at Soul Pepper, which was a very well-resourced organization, and particularly at the time when the Young Center was opening. And so I kind of, in my naive way, was like, oh, all art is like this. And then the older you get and the more you learn, you're like, oh, no, everybody doesn't have this much money to play with. Like, that's not actually how this works. And
Mhm.
so it was one of the things that was very important to me was to be able to offer comedy in a setting that felt elevated. I want the programming to feel elevated. I want it to feel curated, but not in a way that's like dry or boring. Just like the jokes can be raunchy, the jokes can be like, not necessarily vulgar, but it's not sanitized. You know what I mean? Like the comedy is real and it's raw, but it also is thoughtful. Like what I ask of the artists is to please make sure that they come prepared if they're doing stand up. Because I've seen other shows where sometimes they might bring their notebooks on stage, and I'm like, people paid for a show. Like, we will pay you, and the people will pay to come. And
Right.
so, what I would like is for everybody to bring their best. Like, let's elevate this to the level of professionalism with which we would like to be treated. Like, let's be what we want to be and see in the world.
Mhm.
So part of it is, yeah, like the venue is accessible, it's beautiful, our bar is beautiful. This year, we've been experimenting with table service, which
Mhm.
I'm like, oh yeah, comedy bar in Second City, you guys are doing this, like let's try it. And it's been so successful. It's such a nice thing for people to just be able to order directly to the tables. And we have fun stuff too, like you could order a toque to the table because we have a little bit of merch. So my boyfriend described it as like Happy Meals for grown-ups. He's like, you can get a beer and a hat. Like, this is great. So, we want to offer something that's just where you feel like, okay, I had a nice night out. Like it didn't feel, and this is not to disparage any of the other venues in the city. That's not what it's about. But, there is a preconception of comedy as being kind of like grimy or grungy. And what I really like is the opportunity to show like it actually can be a very elevated, artistic, but still very joyful and free experience.
I like that. I like that description. I'm also wondering in terms, I'm a member of the audience, and I always have this discussion with friends whenever we go anywhere in the city of like how we give back as audience members and feeling okay to react and be vocal and emote. Because sometimes I think there's also this idea that you have to be prim and proper in a theater,
Yeah.
and just allowing ourselves to enjoy what's happening on stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's critical. Like, I will tell you that I am of Jamaican descent. My dad is Jamaican. And so, me and all my cousins and aunts and uncles, we are always talking to the screen, to the stage, to like whatever is happening. There's a lot of, oh, Lord, yes, haha. Like, we're very vocal as audience members. And I encourage that in the audience members who come to see the shows because as an artist on stage, you don't really like that's what you're how you can gauge what you're giving and what the audience is receiving. You
Right.
have to make noise. Like, what's a comedy show with no laughs? Like, that's you need it. And so I think one of the things that this festival offers is that first and foremost, like there may be some audience participation, like the comedian may engage with you, but it's also pretty strictly, it's not for them to mock you. It's not so that you can then become the butt of the joke. It's so that you can be part of the experience. And I think similarly, the audiences that we bring, the comics really like because it's a very intelligent audience. The audience is kind of ready for whatever the comics have to offer. And so I think that the understanding that we've been seeking to cultivate is that it's a good time. Like it doesn't have to be stush. And so that's also part of how we set the space. I'm very particular. Anybody who's ever worked with me knows this. I'm very particular about the lighting. And in that moment, like what the playlist sounds like. Like I would like you to enter and be like, oh, it's kind of a vibe in here. Like the music is like what I would play at my house party. And so that right away, as soon as you enter, you've been transported. Like you took the time to come here. You spent your money, you came into this place. You could have been anywhere in the world and you decided to come here. Well, then let us honor that with the best of
Mhm.
everything that we have.
That makes sense. I like that. So maybe let's give a shout out to your production team too that you have working with you this year.
Brap, 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 brap. The production team is fire. Like we've been refining this for years and learning and discovering what works, what doesn't work. And Navid Amini, who's our director of production, facilities and production, he's been like, he and I have been working together since I was the cafe manager and he was a house technician and we were just doing stuff in the cafe. And so he understands very well exactly what it is I'm trying to achieve and is a magical support in that department. And then Steph Raposo, who's our production stage manager, Joey Lau, who also works with Steph, and then Aiden, who works as a house technician, the whole crew, and then also our administrative team, Emily and Stevie, who do the marketing and communications, Audrey, who manages all our money, Angelo, number one producer, patron experience manager, like where would we be without him? And then, of course, Margaret, who works in the cafe and helps me. Like yesterday was drink testing because I was like, I want to have a special cocktail for the festival. And so we were testing and testing. I was like, I don't know, Margaret. Like, does this feel like the one to you? And she was like, no. And then she's like, but what about this? And it's a purple drink. I haven't named it yet, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's perfect. Like the colors this year are purple, so the cocktail will be purple.
Mhm.
Anybody who's paying attention will notice there's a great deal of attention paid to detail. So, yeah. The
I mean,
team is really holding it down.
I've been before, so I know it's fun. And the idea is that I want to share as much of my enthusiasm with folks. That comedies art in the last little bit. Any sort of kind of tips or highlights that you want to put out so that people are enticed or things that you want us to be aware of?
I would say a few things, I think. I would say that for audiences who love comedy, have gone to a million comedy shows, come to this one because it's curated with your experience in mind. And it also, you can rest assured that the artists are being paid well. That we have the support of excellent foundations and government funders who allow us to remunerate these artists in the ways that we believe their work is worth. Now, I want to be very clear. Again, I'm not throwing shade at anybody who doesn't have the money to give the artist. I know what it is. It's very difficult to get funding if you're not part of an organization, and we have that privilege.
Sure.
But I do think that there's something nice about knowing that the artist was able to receive a fee that is meaningful and not perhaps just like $20 and a couple of drink tickets, because it takes a lot of work to do this work. So I
Mhm.
would say that's one thing. I would say another thing is that, as I've mentioned a couple times before, this whole festival is curated with everyone's joyful experience in mind. And when I say everyone, I want the people in the production team, the administration, the cafe. I want our team to be enjoy themselves. I want the artists to have a really good time. And of course, like where would we be without the audience? I want the audience to have an amazing time. So I would say that on the flip side, this is also a really great festival for people who have been wondering, like, should I go to a comedy? I don't know. I'm nervous. Like, I'm a bit scared because what if they make fun of me? Come here. We got you. And it's also definitely not going to be the kind of thing where people are just like up on stage being irresponsible with the kinds of things that they're saying. And this is also something I'd like to clarify, which is that I don't actually believe in censorship as far as comedy goes. I think that pretty much any subject is up for grabs. But what I think distinguishes this festival from many other offerings is that we really emphasize the notion of responsibility and that, yeah, while any subject might be available to speak about, are you the artist to speak on it? And if you're the artist to speak on it, have you given it the reverence, the attention, the care that it needs so that if you are talking about something controversial, potentially traumatic in nature, are you giving the audience a soft landing?
That's
So, if you had a terrible experience, I think you're free to discuss that, but you're not, the audience is not your therapist, right? Like that's, you pay somebody for that, and now they pay you to get the jokes. So I think that's something that also I would like to make sure that people know that there is a degree of artistry that's expected from these people who are going to be on stage, hopefully there to make you laugh really hard. And I think that like as much as I can get very intellectual and like I really am very passionate about this, it's literally just a good time. You'll go in, you'll catch a vibe. Some very talented people will say some very funny things. And then you'll go home, hopefully feeling a little bit lighter than you did when you arrived. And
Mhm.
if you come at the start, maybe you'll be inspired to come again and again and again and again. We're compact this year. It's 3 nights, 5 shows. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. So come, get your laugh on.
Yeah, definitely pick a night or a day and just hang out.
Yeah.
Because you have the cafe, you can hang out in the cafe in between shows too, right?
Heidi, I think I need to hire you. Like, why? I'm like, are you our next representative? Like, you can hang out in the cafe all day and come see shows. You can do anything you want because you are welcome here.
Absolutely. No, like I said, it's one of my favorite places in the city, but I also love the programming all year round. And it's not, I don't say that lightly because I also look for specific places to support for my own in terms of values and interests. So, Liza, thank you so much. We
Thank
can
you.
actual at the festival maybe
Yeah, yeah.
more, but I just want to tell folks the theatercenter.org is the website, October 23rd.
3rd to 25th. Yeah.
And I'll make sure that everything is in the description so people are more informed as to what we discussed today. But thank you so much for sharing so much great knowledge.
It's my great pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to nerd out and talk about this thing that I love so much. And yeah, I feel like this is one of my life's great privileges to be able to curate this festival and have this offering for people. So I really appreciate any platform to be able to just like la 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 about it because I do really love it.
I love it. Thank you again. And we'll definitely see you at the theater center.
Yeah, you will.